flippity flops. Let me check this real quick. Check. Yep. Check.
Testing the speakers.
Are we for sure recording? Because I remember last time we had such a good end of the show.
We're for sure recording. The number's ticking, so we
Nice.
are good to go.
Nice. So yeah, man, it's been such a great week, but we've taken a little couple of days off.
Yeah, we haven't
missed
done
you.
anything since not.
Dude, it's
I think
almost
last
been
Sunday.
It's almost been a week and a half.
Was it last Sunday? No,
Yeah,
because I was at the beach. So
Yeah.
it's the Wednesday before that. Damn. That's
It's been
a week and a half.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a week and a half. I missed you, man.
Yeah.
I was just like,
I was starting to have withdrawals.
I know, but hey, now we got some stuff to talk about. We have some things that we could get off our chest, and then I think you said next week we probably have or next Wednesday we have a guest, possibly.
Oh, yeah. So we are probably going to have Crystal back as long as she holds true to her word.
Nice. I'm excited, man. I'm really
Yeah.
excited. We love guests, and I kind of want to get. I'm gonna message somebody that helps guys with dating profiles and helps guys and gals do their prompts on dating profiles, and she lives in Phoenix, so that might be a Skype one, but it's still going to be good because she does help. And I don't know if you noticed, I only have 67 views because I do think that TikTok, you have to post at a certain time.
Yeah, it's weird.
And I only have 67 views, and I stitched a video because this woman was like, hey, I won't respond to these 4 messages.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, hey, how are you doing? Hey, a period, or some cheesy pickup line.
Right.
Right. And I stitch, and I pretty much just say, listen, your argument's valid. Right. It's a valid argument because I'm the same way. Even though I will respond to those, I think that it's really that's why I'm off Bumble. I deleted my profile, and I'm just strictly on Hinge because I get more interaction with Hinge. But women do it too, where they just send hey or a period or a cheesy pickup line or whatever. And it's like, okay, but what if the profile's boring? And me saying that shows that maybe my profile was boring or that women don't know how to start a conversation. But she was talking to men essentially don't send me this. And now I kind of want to see her dating profile because I've looked at her TikToks and she's always talking about dating and how to improve. And I'm like, okay, I want to see your profile because if you're this critical on what the man says, let me see it because I could tell you right now what I would engage with.
So she's saying, don't just send me hey or hey, how are you or anything like that.
Or a cheesy pickup line. Don't send her that because she won't even respond.
What does she expect?
Well, and I think that's what she's getting at. So to me, her not replying or not even opening it implies that she has a great profile and you should engage with her profile. So I want to see it in order to gauge okay, maybe your profile is just crap, right?
I don't think you can expect the average person to just know how to respond in a proper adult. I don't even know what you would call it really, but I was thinking about it the other day, the whole hey, how are you? It's an opening. I mean,
and it's safe.
Do you want me to just cherry pick out of your profile what to talk about?
Yeah.
Hey, I see you like bowling balls, you know?
So, and that's the thing too, is I see on all these profiles that, oh, I love traveling. Well, where have you traveled? New York.
That you've had that before?
Yeah. I
New York.
Yeah. I've been to a couple of states, but they don't have any world experience. So I want to travel more. Okay. Oh, but I'm always working, so I can't. Or I've got my kids 100%. I'm like, okay, so what you're looking for is in the future when we're married with no kids.
If I were to get that question, have you traveled or whatever it was, I wouldn't say I've necessarily traveled, but I've gone on a couple cruises. I've driven most of the southeast states.
Yeah.
You know, like that's traveling to me.
Yeah.
But if you just say, I've been to New York.
yeah.
I've been
Yeah. Yeah.
I went to Chesney, South Carolina.
Yeah. It's so it's like, okay, give me a little bit more than I want to travel more. Well, I want to travel more, or I want to travel Europe within the next year.
Yeah.
Or I want to travel to 4 countries by the end of 2028, so that I could be like, oh, awesome. What countries do you want to go to? I could like that, or I could engage that. People are. I think that it's more of the women expecting the man to like engage the conversation so deep. But if you get so deep, that date is gonna be dull.
Right.
Right.
We won't have anything to talk about.
Right. So,
I mean, I believe on the first date, you're going to have stuff to talk about regardless.
Sure.
But if you just see, that's another thing about texting constantly. If you text constantly, talk to each other constantly, when you go to the bar, you're just going to sit there on your phones and have nothing to talk about.
have nothing to talk about, or it's gonna get too deep too quick. Like you're gonna start talking about your narcissistic ex.
Yeah. You got to
know.
leave mystery.
Right. And it's like, I don't know how many times when they find out I'm divorced, they're just like, well, what happened? Like, that will come up.
Right.
Right.
That's
you
for
get to
another
know me,
day.
like that. Yeah. I don't want to share that
Because that's a really good point, actually, because if you're on a date and they say so, or somehow your divorce comes up, I don't know how that would, like, have you been divorced or whatever, and you say yeah, and then they say tell me about it. It's like, well, why don't you just get to know me for me today?
Yeah.
And then if we click, we can talk about the more serious stuff or our past,
And I really want to know from a female's perspective, if when they ask that question, are they, one, I think it's a judgment that they're doing.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong, but I think that they want to know, hey, how vulnerable can he be? Well, listen, no one's going to tell you exactly what happened right away to a stranger. And if they do, they are not ready to date.
And I think most women aren't going to want a vulnerable guy on the first date.
Heck no.
They're going to want a manly man, come buy me dinner, hold my
The
hand.
vulnerability comes date 3, date 4,
Right.
when you guys are really getting to, like, hey,
Start digging
I see
in.
myself with you because you are honest with the simple things.
The first date is just scratching the surface of each other.
It's scratching the eyelids, right? It's like, oh, what's your favorite color? Yellow.
Then you wake up with a sty.
You're an asshole. He says that because my styes are coming
He
back.
has a sty in each eye right
In
now.
each eye. Yeah. So, I mean, and I've learned a lot because I did start off, that way, like the woman, like, hey, how was your divorce? Or I'm in a divorce. Like, what can I look out for? Like learning. And then talking about, my past experiences. And it was such a turnoff that I'm like, I don't need to do this. One, I'm healed. So if they want to know, I'll tell them, but I'm not going to tell them the juicy details until I know that my emotions are safe with this person.
If you, unless you know, you and this other person have actual potential, and I mean that by after a second, third date, if you really see potential in this person, that's when you can start getting a little more vulnerable, telling things that you wouldn't tell on the first date, which I've done the same. Like after my divorce, like first date, I just straight up like, this is what happened.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, then cool. If you're willing to, stay on this date with me, then cool.
Yeah.
Like, and it's kind of a one of those things. It's like most women want to know that shit right off the top, but at the same time, it's not the greatest thing to talk about on the first date. But then if you don't talk about it on the first date and they find out later on, they're like, well, shit, I just just invested this time, and now you're telling me that you did this.
Yeah. And I think that's also what they're trying to get at. And like, what did he do? I almost think like it's a blame game, like, because no woman could ever fuck up, right?
Yeah.
It had to be him. Like, did he have anger management issues? Did he cheat? Did he do this? And it's just like, well, there are some men there are sometimes relationships fail, even if you're married for, and it's the whole thing of, I have 2 kids and then I was married for 13 years. Right. So they wow, that's a long time. Like, what happened? I'm like, well, just two people in 13 years, just, you fall apart. And then they're like, okay, so you don't want to talk about it. I get it. It's like, well, it's not that I don't want to talk about it, but I don't need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Where a lot of them are just like, well, I'm separated now and this is what happened. And it's like, and then it's just a long list.
Will you entertain a separated girl?
So I've actually learned that I don't necessarily like it, but I will entertain it based on their emotional maturity.
Sort of based on the vibe of
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah. So I've been with separated people and it's never really worked out. But because I dated when I was separated, I don't hold that against them because I also know that, it's may not be their fault. And even if it was their fault, I wouldn't necessarily hold that against them because they're turning a new leaf in life and they may just need someone to talk to.
I don't think you can hold it against them. I think it's more of like you can judge, where their mind is during this separation, whether it be like 2 months ago or 11 months ago. Like if they're, if the communication is equal and you can really tell that they are done, but if they're still like kind of, back and forth, like or maybe he's living with you still.
Like if the husband is still totally involved, it's like, no, you're just married. It is a sticky road. We'll talk about this later on the show. Like when's a good time? Cause I saw a TikTok that I'm going to stitch later on about don't date somebody that hasn't been divorced for 3 to 4 years. I think that's erroneous. Because people are different.
Yeah.
And it's a woman telling women not to date men that aren't fully divorced within 3 to 4 years. And I'm like, that's just not okay. Because I do think that the creator, and I'll talk about this later. We'll say that for later. So let's go back to the "Hey, how are you?" text.
Well, I actually had one little story before I forget that kind of pertains to what we're talking about. I started dating this girl a while back, and I've talked about her before. If anybody has listened and remembers String Cheese Girl.
Oh yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
So like I met her, I can't remember which app it was. And she lived in Greenville, South Carolina. And so the first time I went and met her, I picked her up and we went and drove to, some kind of mountain, anyways, it was a place where you could walk out and just see a really pretty view. And we hung out there for a while. And then after that, like the next couple dates or whatever, we would hang out. We kind of do the same thing. We would never go to her house,
No.
So she was separated, but her husband was still very, very much involved, and she did have 3 kids. So, makes sense. But he was still very much involved, even to the point where I've picked her up while he's sitting outside her apartment and the kids are running around and whatever. And he wasn't living with her, but it was still like weird.
Yeah.
I went through with it. Like I just kind of went along with it, but I was like, this is odd.
Yeah. So I do think that it comes down to dating someone who's separated, like how much drama is still involved.
Yeah.
And it is about the tolerance. Like, are you a tolerant man that you truly have emotions for and care for this person to the point where it's like, will this drama lead you guys to butt heads or are you going to be comfortable with it? So I do think that distance within somebody who is separated is a good thing. As in, like, if they do live in Greenville or they live, an hour away.
He knew she was dating me too. Like that was also kind of a weird thing.
And he's probably dating too. So it's like, hey,
Right.
is this man trying to win you over? Is he, because I don't want to be that guy that shows up to your house, while your kid's there, because we're at that point, and then he comes in and now there's, so you're just trying to be dad to my kid. It's like, no,
she
bro.
wanted me to become friends with him. Like she wanted me to meet him, become friends with him. I mean, they still, they were trying to keep a cordial relationship. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Because of the kids. And
Yeah.
I get that. Totally understand. That's great. But it was just weird.
Yeah.
Like there was just a weird vibe about it. And then after the string cheese sat on the counter for for the whole weekend, like all 3 days that I was there, that was the deal breaker.
You still ate it though.
Oh yeah. A few times. Yo, fuck yeah. She
Yeah.
was 4'10", dude. I could slam her against the wall and
Yeah. Oh no, I meant that you ate the string cheese.
oh no, I didn't eat the string cheese.
You're talking. Wow, you can see where your head.
It did not sound like you were talking about the string
I was
cheese.
talking about the string cheese.
Okay, well, no, I did not eat the string cheese.
Okay.
I don't know if it's still good after it's been out of the fridge that long and laid on the counter. Bare cheesed.
Bear cheese. That is some bear cheese. Yeah. Hopefully she didn't taste like old string cheese. But all right. So, anyways, what do you think? Let's say you're on a dating app. Would you always respond to a "Hey, how are you"?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a woman thing. I do, because a guy getting the message first, and it's a "Hey, how are you?"
I think
I'll
if
be
the guy gets the message first 99% of the time, he's going to respond.
yeah, he's gonna respond.
No matter what. I mean,
And I would say that a "Hey, how are you" is the best thing someone can say to where, "Hey, how are you doing today? How's your weekend been? What's your plans?" And you could also gauge how they want to interact. Like if you send the "Hey, how are you" at 7 a.m. and they don't respond for 2 weeks, like, "I'm good, how are you?" Like, you know that they're not going to take this chatting seriously.
yeah.
Right. But if they, and I'm not saying respond right away, not everybody's on those apps, but if they respond within, 24 hours and they say "How's your weekend been? How have you been?" Something like that, they're willing to engage that. And then you go back to the profile and say, "Hey, I see that you're a project manager, or I see that you're wanting to travel to Portugal. Like what sprung that on?" That's when the guy can do that. But a "Hey, how are you" opens the conversation. So for some, like, okay, so I get the hey's stupid.
Just plain hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey is so close-ended. It's
Yeah.
like, "Hey." And actually I've responded like that, like, "Hey,"
Yeah.
because you're not giving me anything to.
Is hey, how are you like the number one used line, you think? Like, hey,
No,
how
for
are
sure,
you?
For sure. But I think that it's safe.
I've used hey there, how's it going?
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
perfect. It's the same thing.
I mean, that to me sounds a little more friendly than hey, how are you?
I always, if it's a boring profile,
Yeah.
it's like, "Hey, hey, how are you?" Or "How is your morning going?" Or "How is your afternoon going? How's your work week?" Something that is open-ended on them. And if they want to engage with me, they will. But it is a sign of there's nothing on your profile that really strikes me as something that we have in common, but that doesn't mean that we don't. Because I think that many people or many women on that site just don't want to be there. So they don't put forth the effort, and that shows they're not being intentional with dating. So the longer ones are easier to engage with. Like today, I sent a like to somebody who says, "I'm looking for someone who's or the green flags I look for: emotionally intelligent, this and this and this." So I said, "Hey, can you define what you mean by emotionally intelligent so that we're on the same page?" Because what emotionally intelligent to her is may not be emotionally intelligent to me. Because she may say, "Oh, someone who is consistent in communication." Okay, well, what do you mean by consistent? Because I'm consistently going to short answer you in texts.
Yeah.
I'm consistently going to do that, but I'm being consistent. So is that what you want, or do you want paragraph longs?
Right.
Or you want this, or do you want always asking random questions like, "Hey, do you like Kit Kat or Reese's?"
To me, like, if the hey, how are you, or hey there, whatever works, and they respond, then comes like, so what do you do, or I see that you do. And if they explain it and you can keep a consistent back and forth, that's when the two are interested. But if you ask a question and they're just like, "Yeah, I do this." That's
They don't care. I ran into that this week. Like, she's a very busy businesswoman. I tried to engage it until, like, I just noticed that she's not asking the bare minimum of what about you? So I stopped conversation. And I've ran into that a few times where then they would just say, hey, just when you ask a question, I want to know that about you. I'm like, well, then say that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a mind reader. All right. So there's a great song by A Day to Remember called Mind Reader.
I've heard it.
Yeah. And honestly, it's probably, a mediocre song for them, but I'm just like, I'll never be your mind reader. Like, I need to put that as a prompt. I'm not a mind reader. So I don't know if you care about this conversation or not.
Yeah.
You may be doing this for a dopamine hit, which I say in my TikTok is that you don't know the intentions of this person. Like if they're on the dating profile because they just need that company, that stranger company, but they're so introverted that they don't go out or they're so busy. It's like, okay, well, you're wasting my time. And, I love those. Oh, please don't waste my time. Okay. What is it that you think wastes your time? Because my time is just as valuable as your time.
If you're on a dating app, you have to expect that you're going to waste some time.
You're going to waste some time.
You go fishing and you're trying to get, a
Biggest
20
waste
pound.
I hate fishing, by the way.
Me too. If you go fishing and you're trying to catch, I don't know fishing shit, but
No.
like you're trying to catch that 20 pounder, but you keep catching like 10 pounders. You're wasting your time, but you're still looking for that one.
And you could still go out there all day and not catch a single thing. It's
That's
a
usually what
waste
happens
of
to
time.
me.
Yeah, I don't go fishing. If someone's like, "Oh, I love fishing," I'm like, that's great. You could do that by yourself. I will sit here and read a book on stoicism.
Anytime, like if I actually go fishing with somebody, like they have a boat or something, like I'm happy like watching them fish, and I'm just chilling, drinking beer under the little awning, hey, Al, you got one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like someone who has a boat. They're like, "Yeah, you want to go fishing?" I'm like, "I'll watch you fish, bro. I'll be there with you."
I'm here for the beer and the sun.
Yeah. So I just don't agree. So I agree with her. Like she won't respond. I'll still respond because I think it's polite. But if it's too close ended, then I'm like, yeah, she just wants me to put forth all the effort. And it goes back to the whole chasing thing that we talked about last episode.
It just has to be equal effort. And if you're trying to talk to somebody, if they're not, if I'm getting those just, small responses that are just leaving the conversation dropped, like I'll just stop talking to them. Like it's just,
like,
you're wasting my time.
You
at
have
this
to.
point.
And in fact, I think that shows emotional maturity. I think that shows emotional intelligence that you will tolerate so much, but you're also able to like walk out the door.
Right.
Like you're able to say, hey, nope, closed door, not going to bother me.
That's one thing that I have struggled with all my life when it comes to dating or being in relationships is the emotional maturity to be able to just walk away.
But yeah, I think you're to walk away. But I want to say this is, I've matched with her before. I was going to go into, I'm going to send another one. We're friends on Facebook, but, so emotional maturity, essentially, the emotionally mature man or woman will tolerate so much, and they can regulate their emotions. Now, the difference between regulating their emotions and suppressing their emotions are two different things. Suppressing their emotions is emotionally unintelligent, right? It's emotionally immature. You shouldn't suppress them, but you know how to manage them, right? And an emotionally intelligent person knows how to not only manage their emotions, but also help regulate their partner's emotions.
Would you say managing your emotions and controlling your emotions are the same thing, or maybe
yes,
managing is delegating your emotions in certain ways, but controlling because
controlling I think leads to suppressing where because you don't so think of it as in like you have a manager and then you have a boss. The boss is very controlling. He's micromanaging. Right. He wants this. And then you have the manager who's not only out there with you, but he's managing, placing pieces in, knowing where to go, what to do at all times.
Keep things functioning.
Right. Yeah. So think about when you feel that emotion of anger, fear, sadness, happiness, you know how to manage at what point with that partner or in any scenario, you know how to manage, hey, is this do I need to be angry and like lash out? Let's just say you're in traffic and that guy cuts you off.
Yeah.
His windows are up, your windows are up. It is pointless to yell.
Yeah.
It's pointless.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You guys are both in the same scenario and it ain't going anywhere quick.
No. You ever notice, like, if you accidentally cut somebody off and they're really pissed, but if you just, like, you know, do that little wave, I'm sorry type of
Like,
thing.
oh, okay.
Yeah, like, it relaxes it. Like,
It
we're all
relaxes
good.
them.
We're all
Yeah,
good
right.
after that.
So it's like, hey, how about you just accept the fact that you got cut off? It's a setback.
It happens.
You're one car back from the traffic jam that's
Yeah.
still 15 miles ahead.
I mean, sometimes
right?
you can look as much as you want, then you just don't see that one.
Right.
It just happens.
So I would say that, controlling your emotions leads to internalization, where managing leads to just a healthy approach to your emotions. And with a emotionally intelligent person, they're going to be able to not only regulate theirs, but also be able to help their partner regulate theirs. But when that other partner just can't because they're emotionally immature, how much can they take to the point where they have to shut the door?
I think with anybody, there is a tolerance level.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have all the patience in the world, but there's a tolerance level where you just become numb.
Yeah. And that is where I think the emotionally intelligent person needs to be self-aware enough to say, hey, I can't do this. And I can't just keep, taking on your burdens and taking these things on. If you're not going to do, like, you just want me to take this on and you aren't doing anything about it.
Yeah.
And that's when they have to shut the door and be like, I can't manage my emotions. I can't regulate them and regulate yours. Like, I've been here. I've helped you regulate them, but you need to start regulating them yourself. And they need to just separate at that point. And they're able to do that. That's the emotionally intelligent person.
What's the thing? You can't control somebody else's emotions. You can only control yours.
And you can't control how they feel
or how they react.
Right. And you can't. So I've said this enough. Like, if you don't take things personally, and they do, like, I can't help that you took this personally. You need to realize how to regulate that within yourself. Like, let's just talk about comedy. And we've talked about this before. If someone has dark humor or has a type of humor that you just can't get with, and that offends you, that doesn't mean that you're right and they're wrong. You need to relegate that into the point of, like, okay, that made me feel uncomfortable, but I know that person is just joking. Like, he or she thinks that's funny.
I wonder what it is for people like that. Like, there's so many comedy shows people go to and they know what they're going to. Like, there are warnings, blah, blah, blah. And people go in and then they get offended by something. Like, is that just like just a problem within their own mind that is,
I think that,
like, are they just self-conscious about something that has to do with, or like,
I mean, yeah, it could be cultural too. Like,
people get offended by the word.
That came for the throne. Try and test me, I'm crushing your bones. We got bags of the loud getting flown. Police watching the spot like a drone. I just made me a rack off the phone. I'm just reaping the seeds that were sown. In the trap till my cover get blown. Serving ball off the ball like my home. Weird said shit, I came for the throne. Try and test me, I'm crushing your bones. We got bags of the loud getting flown. Police watching the spot like a drone. I just made me a rack off the phone. I'm just reaping the seeds that were sown. In the trap till my cover get blown. Serving ball out the ball like my home. Throwing ball out the ball like I'm Brady.